This is T-Sweat here from Great Electric Quest. You're listening to Doom Tomb Podcast. You better get your kicks in before you're in the grave, my friends.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Doom Tomb Podcast. My name is Chris. I am your host. Sincere apologies for not getting this on a little bit sooner. As you can hear, my voice is still a bit of, shit. I've been ill. I've had the flu for a while. And, I wanted to get this interview out as soon as possible. And wouldn't you know it, that this band will be going out very, very soon. And they're going to be going on an extensive tour. It is Black Magic Flower Power. And I am with a couple of the band members. And you know what? It is a fantastic interview. I tell you, they make my work so easy. Thank you, gentlemen. You bring it every time. You guys just always have something to talk about. And I am sincerely grateful. What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about the tooth incident? Yeah, it's in here. And we talk about it a little bit more. We start to get into the new project, which is Black Magic Flower Power. But we have to go in reverse for a minute to a previous project, which was White Orange. And there's some really fascinating information. I love these guys to death. I can't wait to see them. They're coming around my neck of the woods again, and I can't wait. I can't wait to get just to hang out with them. They're really fun. They never are a loss for words. It is a fantastic show. It's going to be a great interview. Just sit tight and sit back, relax, enjoy yourselves, and listen to some Black Magic Flower Power.
We didn't jack you.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Do you remember what happened with that guy?
Wait, what guy?
When I was in here last time, you cut a few promos, and there was these people outside. They said, "Hey, you see that guy trying to cross the road?" There was a guy that bought a ton of your merch, and he was
hammered.
polluted.
The hammered dude, yeah.
Yeah, and we just wanted to
remember.
make sure he got it safely across, and it was almost like a cartoon. Like, is he gonna make it? And I mean, he made it, but my mind was so in that. Oh, my ride's here. We were so watching that I left my microphone here. I was like, so thank you. And I gotta say, when I got it back in the mail, it smelled wonderful.
Well,
I don't know.
Thank you.
I don't know.
Julie, probably.
It was something delicious and something wonderful. You know what? Let me start out by saying, oh, geez, what is going on here today? What is this? All right. Well, yeah. Well, they might be going from Scottsdale to Phoenix. I'm not quite sure. Either way. All right. So I'm with a couple of the brothers here from Black Magic Flower Power.
Howdy ho.
How you doing today, man?
Fantastic. How are you, Ryan?
I feel fucking great.
Awesome.
I'm in a great flow right now. It's been really psychedelic in Tucson. The band's working really hard.
Right.
Lots of inspiration, lots of things happening. Good vibrations, you know?
How is it being out there? Because I've seen stuff that you've done on social media recently, and I see a lot of desert. So how is that working for the material for the next release?
I think it's working fantastic because I'm writing quite a bit.
Right.
And new songs, lots of new songs in the set. Obviously, it's a brand new project, so all new songs, basically.
Fantastic.
And as a writer, and very self-critical. I think I'm writing some of the best shit that I've written. It's changing, the different environments definitely influence in different ways. And
Sure.
I mean, this is my third desert record that I've written. I was living in Seattle, and I came to Phoenix and wrote a record.
Right.
I was in Portland, and I went to Joshua Tree and did a record.
Which record did you write in Phoenix?
I never released it actually, but I did this crazy, like 60s, like Nuggets, Pebbles style throwback, very like 60s garage, but true underground, like high school 60s bands.
Right.
Super lo-fi, crazy ass, like the Human Expression type shit, which one of my... Yeah,
13th floor elevators. Yeah.
Syd Barrett, very Syd Barrett,
Oh, real psychedelic.
Yeah, the Soft Machine, shit like that.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, Dustin, when I met you, you were knee deep in Nuggets. Remember that?
I'm always knee deep in Nuggets. It's just not chicken.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, have you ever heard Syd Barrett? I'm like, yeah, I've heard Pink Floyd. You're like, no. Have you heard Syd Barrett? And then I listened to it, and I'm like, this guy's out of his fucking mind.
I love Syd. Syd's one of my... you probably wouldn't guess, but he's like a big influence for a songwriter and especially like Piper at the Gates of Dawn, obviously.
Sure.
With
Saucer
apples
Bowl
and Saucer a little. He's a little on Saucer, but like apples and oranges and. But really, when he got into his solo stuff, a lot of people don't appreciate it that much. It's
Right.
I guess it's difficult to, but. It really moves me. Like his solo stuff is so phenomenal, and wacky and wild, and it's right up my alley. I love it. It just moves me in a way, and it's kind of untouchable. You can't be like, I like Syd Barrett. I'm gonna be like Syd Barrett. You can't do it. So you listen to it, and especially as a songwriter, it's like there's little things I can take from it, but really I just get to appreciate it. It's so...
Drake. It's like Nick Drake a little bit, where like, what are you gonna steal? Like Nick Drake's style? Are you gonna play guitar like him?
I appreciate that you said Nick first, because at first I was like, that Drake?
Yeah.
Really? That guy? Okay, well, I mean, influence comes from everywhere.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, it's hard to rip off Nick Drake, like that style, that voicing. I mean, his alternate tunings and picking style. It's like music you can just appreciate that's untouchable is nice. And it's for musicians and songwriters, because usually like we hear music and we're like, ooh, I'm going to take that, I'm going to take that, I'm going to use that. But when there are bands where you're like, fuck, I can't take any of that. It's, it's off limits because it's kind of almost impossible to recreate. Like Syd Barrett, his timing and tempo is all over the place. You couldn't play like that. I mean, there's a struggle, like I think Gilmore went and helped him like do some drums and overdubs, and the timing and the tempos were so fucked up that even Gilmore struggled trying to put it together. I think he brought like the drummer and bass player from the Soft Machine in,
right.
But they were so psychedelic, and it was, that, late 60s vibe. They got it, but it's really good. Like,
How much of an influence do you think the psychedelics were for Syd?
Oh,
yeah. Well, I mean,
I don't. I mean, we know the stories.
Sure.
I just think,
It's the lyrics.
Yeah.
You flew too close to the sun. Yeah. Like all of "Wish You Were Here's" the lyrics are so fucking heavy when you think about it. About Syd,
yeah,
and not just "Wish You Were Here," and the great story that he showed up randomly to that session. They were making a fucking album about him, and he just and no one reckoned. And he was sitting on the couch in the control room, and nobody knew it was Syd. He just showed up.
Yeah, he just showed up. I mean, I think he showed up and he shaved his head, so he's like totally bald, and his old band members didn't even fucking recognize him. Like, so, I think maybe the psychedelics messed with his mind, but I think he was a wacky artist anyway, so I think he just got pushed over the edge, and he was that. I don't think there was...
He fucking painted in his mom's house till he died. That's what he did. I think Gilmore gave him a fuck ton of money and paid for his house and paid for him and his mom to live. And that dude he just was an artist.
Yeah, he just painted like he was a quiet artist, and it's heavy to me because so Sid was so important to me. Like I was planning a trip to England,
right?
So I mean, I guess I was a stalker. So I knew kind of where Sid lived, and he would go to this pub every day.
Sure.
So the word on the street, you could go to this pub. And Sid would show up every day, and you could sit next to Sid and have a beer.
Wow.
As long as you didn't talk about music.
Okay.
You could sit and have a beer. So I was planning this trip because he was that important to me, and I just want to sit next to this dude, you know?
Yeah. Absorb the energy.
That's what happens when you don't grow up with a dad. You're like, Sid's my dad. Too soon, yeah. But he passed before I got a chance to do it, and it was a strange blow for me. I'm like,
we jammed the day he passed. At the mountain? Yeah, I came up to the mountain and I think I told you. I don't think you knew. I think I told you that he died, and you're like, fuck.
Yeah, I missed my opportunity.
Well.
But some things are meant to be, and it's like,
some are. Some things are really meant to be, and that brings me to this thing. Let's just talk about it. Let's get all this shit out of the way. Let's get it up. Let's get it open and talk. Real. I need to know. Major controversy here. What happened with the tooth?
Well, it got jerked out of my head. In a nutshell, wow. Maybe I can use this as a warning to other, touring people, touring musicians, truck drivers, whatever, people on the road, or just, people that can tolerate pain. I had some pain in my tooth, and a tooth that I had worked on. So I had previous work done.
Root canal?
Didn't do the root canal, but it cracked. I had it repaired. I had it crowned.
Right.
Nice gold crown.
I got one of those. Yeah.
I think I got 5 gold teeth still.
Nice.
Don't tell them not.
Or maybe 4. I don't know how many. Yeah, exactly.
Take them right out.
But I try to take care of my teeth, and shit happens. You get older and teeth crack and yada yada. Except for this one started acting up again, a little pain on tour, and the way Dennis explained it, it's like teeth need to settle down. So sometimes after a trauma, they'll act up and they have memories, and
they move.
Yeah, they move. They do all this weird shit, and the nerves have memories, and all of a sudden it started hurting. And I'm like, oh, it's having a memory of the crack,
Right.
Because it cracked in half.
Sure.
So I'm like, well, it started hurting, and then it started hurting so bad. I'm taking drugs for it,
Yeah.
and then it started hurting so bad. I'm taking way too many drugs for it. And about 2 weeks in, I'm like losing my mind. I'm barely, I get it together enough. I go on stage, I perform, I don't think about the pain on stage because the adrenaline. And then as soon as I'm done packing up, the pain comes back, and I'm, dealing with this.
Did it blow up? Like, did it swell?
So what happened?
Yeah. Yeah.
This is where the story gets fucking interesting.
All right.
Because I'm like, I have like 9 more days before I'm home. So I'm just trying to make it home.
Sure.
I'm like, I'm going to tough it out,
Yeah.
So we play this show, and big show, great show, get off stage, and the pain doesn't come back. So I'm like, cool, maybe it settled down.
Right.
So I'm hanging out. First night, I get to hang out, instead of just kind of, when you have tooth pain, it's head pain.
It's debilitating.
It's debilitating. Yeah, it makes you psychotic.
Right.
It's some of the worst pain I've ever experienced. You can't escape it. You can't run from it, you know. But the pain didn't come back after this show. So I hung out for a few hours, got the bullshit, and then came back to the van to sleep. I like sleeping in the van, even though we're at a nice spot. I always sleep in the van. As soon as I got in the van and kind of settled down, all of a sudden I could feel the tooth pulsating. Oh. That pulsating feeling, and I'm like, fuck, something is wrong. So I'm like, I've heard, dead tooth, those sayings. So we go play another show the next night, killer show. And I'm like, I'm not in pain, but I can feel it pulsating, the heartbeat feeling.
Yes.
We play that show, and the next day I wake up and my jaw's locked.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh shit, something's happening here.
Yep.
So I call my dentist and tell them what's going on, and they're like, oh, this is serious. You need to get on antibiotics right now. And I go, I'm okay, but I need to open my mouth. And they're like, no, this is serious.
Yes.
Go get antibiotics. So I go get antibiotics, and fucking 8 hours later, my jaw is locked up even more. Like
you can't get anything through the teeth.
I could barely get the antibiotics through the fucking teeth, and I'm like, holy shit, what's going on? But of course, I'm hoping the antibiotics are gonna help this shit.
Oh yeah.
But 4 days later, we're canceling shows.
Sure.
And basically, I didn't get strong enough antibiotics.
Right.
So we have canceled the rest of the tour.
Yep.
Barely could make it home. And that's me going, we stopped at an emergency room. I'm like, something's fucking wrong. At 2 emergency rooms, but basically my neck swelled out like a fucking...
Like you had a goiter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Softball. I go to one emergency room. They treat me like I'm a drug addict.
Of course.
Of course, because why would I be at an emergency room, except for opiates? So I get treated like that, and then we fucking go to an emergency dentist place first thing in the morning. Couldn't even ride. I'm like, you can't drive anymore. I was losing my mind.
Yeah.
And hit this emergency dental place. Well, they can't do anything because my mouth won't open.
Yep.
They couldn't even x-ray me.
Yeah.
So they gave me stronger antibiotics, whatever. I made it home, fucking got the thing ripped out. I'm not a root canal guy. I've done all the studies. I think.
You know what it is? I appreciate that. There was a book that I read years ago. I don't even know if it's in print anymore. It was called Tooth Truth. And it explains what the process is of a tooth over the course of your life and what a root canal is. To me, from reading that book, and somebody proved me wrong, the root canal is a way to make $1 before you get the next thing, so it's the cavity, it's the root canal, it's the implant or extraction of the tooth.
Yeah, it's the cavity, it's the root canal, it's the crown, it's the implant. Yeah. It's all about money, but I think there's a new doc out. I haven't watched it, but I did studies beforehand, and basically root canals are dangerous because it leaves bacteria. And that bacteria can cause heart attacks.
Yes, it can.
It can cause all sorts of problems in your life that you're unaware of. And I had a buddy had a root canal 10 years ago, and he ended up in the hospital from a root canal.
Can you tell me what he had? If I tell you the name, would you know it?
He had the same thing as me. It's like called sepsis or something like that.
He was septic.
Septic.
If I give you the name, bacterial endocarditis?
That sounds familiar.
Okay.
Yes.
I had that. In 2010, I was holding the hand of my infectious disease specialist as she was telling me I was going to die. And the first thing when I was in the hospital is they said, "Have you had any dental work recently?" First question. Second question, IV drug use. Third, large wounds that aren't healing, blah, blah, blah. But over and over again, you hear that when you hear there's a reason why you have to take care of gum disease. There's a reason for it. It's all connected. And I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. And it stays in there.
It does. It's a big deal, and we're not taught that. We're just taught to trust the dentist, and root canals are great, and fluoride's great. And if you start researching, you're like, wait a minute, there's a big debate, and I've talked to my dentist about it, and he was honest enough to go, he goes, yeah, the debate is raging in the dental community, extraction versus root canal, and extraction is starting to win again because it's healthier.
Yes.
And
I bet when you had it taken out, the pain subsided almost immediately.
Well, check this shit out. Your tooth. So my tooth, they called it supra-implosion or supra.
Nice, good band name.
Supra eruption or something like that.
That's the Van Halen cover band.
But there's some dental term. It's like supra eruption or something. So basically, because my tooth went septic or whatever, it actually erupted. It was so it pushed out. What that is it's making it easy. So when they extracted it, it just popped out.
Just pops it, yeah.
It just popped. It was like nothing. It was pop.
Now here's the gross
Because your
part.
body's saying, get it out.
Absolutely, yeah. Now, after it came out, was there infection there?
Well, I'd been on the antibiotics, so
Right. So all that swelling went down and stuff?
yeah. I mean,
Okay,
it took
okay.
another 2 or 3 weeks before I could fully open my mouth.
Mine was because we talked about it off mic, and I lived in Florida, so it's low, like close to sea level, right? I took a trip to North Carolina, and I was having a tooth problem after, and it's weird. It wasn't bothering me until I had a heavy workout, like resistance training. Then it was like magic. I would get this pulsating, throbbing pain. I would go into the car, take a BC powder or two, and just wait. And then it would go away and go away. And then we took a trip up to North Carolina, changed that elevation. All of a sudden, my face started to swell. My eyes shut. And we had to drive, and we drove up, so it was like a 12-hour drive. We had to drive back 12 hours. I have a high fever. I can barely see the road. And I got to the dentist. He took one look at me, and he just canceled all the other appointments. We got to do this. Now, the reason I was saying this is because he looked at it, and he's like, "You're going to hate me. I can't numb it." He says, the infection will like negate the whatever it is, the
numbing agent?
Yeah, the numbing agent. So I said, "So what do we got to do?" He's like, he would say this a lot, no matter what it was. He says, "Don't hit me." But I have to slice your gum. I was like, okay. Well, if a scalpel's sharp, it ain't gonna last too long. He said, grip on something tight, not me, but grip something tight, and I'm gonna do it. And as soon as he did it, stuff poured out. It was so disgusting. The dental assistant, she had to leave. She was fucking gagging. It just, after that, it was so much better. It was like night and day.
It's like popping a zit. I had a.
Oh yeah.
I've talked to Dustin about our wisdom teeth experience, but I got a dry socket for my wisdom tooth. And the dentist had to pop it like a pimple. So he put both fingers on there and squeezed the infection. And it was the most pain I've ever felt my whole life.
Sure.
And it was horrendous, but as soon as it was done.
Oh, the relief.
The sweet relief.
Sweet relief. So I guess the question is now, what do you got? You doing an implant? You keeping it out?
Obviously I can't afford an implant right now.
Yeah.
But I guess to pass on some knowledge.
Right.
I've done the research.
Yep.
And if you're facing a root canal, like a root canal is about $2,000.
Sure.
An implant's about $2,000 to $3,000.
Mm-hmm.
And then a crown is about $2,000. So the reality is, just get the sucker ripped out and get the implant. And implants, they're very safe and they last. They're guaranteed for like 25 years.
Yeah.
So you actually save money by bypassing the crown and the root canal and just jumping to the implant, and it's safer.
Exactly.
So it was my back tooth. So it's like it's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
It definitely makes me feel. You're like, whoa, I just lost a part of myself.
Yep. This is the goofy thing, because I did this when you first lose your wisdom teeth. Like, you're always tonguing it.
Yeah.
Like nom, 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 nom. Just like, yeah, it used to be there. Huh? What the hell?
I'm actually tonguing it. It's funny. I'm tonguing it less than when I got the crown, because when I got the crown, I'm like, man, doesn't feel right.
Right,
like,
right.
And I kept telling my dentist, and he kept trying to adjust the crown. I'm like, something's off in this tooth, and I'm like, I hope I don't lose this one. It feels different, And I have like 4 other crowns,
Sure.
Shit happens.
It does.
Cracked teeth.
It does.
I think, especially as a singer, I'm brutal to my mouth.
Do you still have the? Was it a Kickstarter? Was it GoFundMe? I forgot.
Yeah, we did the dudes did a GoFundMe for me. I think it's done.
Yeah. What the mission of that? I mean, we were trying to pay for Dustin's bills.
Sure.
We lost some really good shows, and the point of that tour, we were hoping that we would have accumulation of, I guess, some funds to start investing in home recording.
Right.
So we moved, got the space. We're trying to keep it all in house. We're trying to basically do everything ourselves.
Full DIY, man.
But the truth was that was a major hang up. So just, thanks, we should say, thanks to everybody who helped us recuperate from the loss. Because it was, some people, like, if you have like a fucking day job and you're on tour for 2 weeks and you come home, it's no big deal. You got your fucking, like, we don't have day jobs. We don't have, we don't have any other income. We don't, like.
We're barely making it,
Yeah.
We barely make it, trying to do this idea. And not that it's anyone else's responsibility, but it's just a little different. It's like, and I appreciate the help too. And I have to say thank you and thanks to my dudes for doing it for me. But
Absolutely.
It's not like we, lose 9 shows and then, after I heal, we can just go do those 9 shows again. Booking is 3 to 6 months out, sometimes a year out for festivals.
Yeah.
So if you miss those shows,
You're screwed.
You're screwed. That's your, yearly income. And, we strive to do about 200 shows a year. I think we did like 158 last year, something like that. And because, and the 158, was because, my tooth problem, you got van problems. So there's always something.
Right.
So there's always like close to 200 shows booked, but it's hard to do that, 200 days a year.
Hell yeah, it is.
And when you're traveling, when you're up and down elevations, your body gets screwed with, the van gets screwed with, everything gets screwed with, So it's a little brutal, but we're sticking to it. We're trying to make it happen, and and
And you're just doing it.
And we're doing it, yeah. And it's
Well, the reason I was bringing up this, I forgot. I apologize. Kickstarter?
GoFundMe, Kickstarter.
Well,
whatever.
you get it. GoFundMe.
Crowdsourcing.
Because I admit I didn't give that way, but what I did do was take your advice, Dustin. And your advice was, could you please buy some fucking vinyl? Ever since the time we talked in this van, back in Tucson at the Surly Wench Pub, I kept thinking about it, and I was like, yeah, why am I not buying vinyl? So I started, very slowly, but I started, and I went back through a back catalog of all your stuff, and it brought me to this place, and now, I don't know, sometimes I go outside the box, but Third Man Records, was in Nashville, is Jack White. He is doing this Sleep 4 LP set, all live, their entire career spanning a full live performance. And I don't know what the difference is. Maybe he said it's direct to acetate recording. I don't know what that means. But I know I think I'm going to like it.
That means old.
Yeah.
Really what that means?
Okay.
It's old style.
Okay.
It's not. They're not making nickel-plated masters. It's basically, I think what it is cutting onto the record, like the sound is cutting into
As it's happening.
Yes.
Yes.
Like cutting in real time.
I saw him do that. I saw Jack do that. Maybe he did it on the Tonight Show one time or something. Like there was a booth and he cut it, and then he just goes crazy with what he can do with vinyl.
Yeah, he's pretty amazing, and we need people like that. It's kind of like keeping the old languages alive. Like,
Absolutely.
People that care about gear like that, and we try to be the same way. We're, like in the studio we're building, it's like this is like my 4th or 5th studio I've built, and I've had studios, full production studios before, and
Right.
And this is kind of like this one I'm building at home now for us, for other bands as well, but but I'm thinking about it in a very different light. So it's like a lot of the preamps I'm buying, like I just got one, and it's like one that the Beatles used. It's
nice.
like So it's not the exact Beatles, but it's the same Telefunken type of preamp, and it's by a company called Mercury. So I got one of their M72s, but it's exact. They say it's not a clone.
Right.
You know, this is not a clone. It's the exact specs.
Nice.
And so in all our gear, we care about that, you know, from amps to everything, but the studio's going that route as well. So I got this M72 with Beatles style preamp, and I just got a Pultec EQ, which is the old school sought after EQ. And
Right.
you know, this is for our record, trying to stay honest and keep the language alive, and then also have it for our friend, you know, to offer to our friends, like come fucking lay some tracks at our place, and have access to this gear as well. And I'm a big nerd, you know, being that I've been doing this shit a long time and own studios.
Right.
I've been through all the gear, and I'm like, if I'm gonna do it this time, I'm gonna nerd way out, and I want it to be special for the community, and for ourselves and the community, and I want to keep it alive. You know, I don't want these sounds to go away, and you know, and you have to dig, you have to look, you're on a hunt looking for this gear, and especially and looking for good deals, you know. And I got real lucky, you know. I got 2 really good deals, like, because people overcharge on this shit, and
Well, it's hot now.
It's always been hot in the nerd world. This shit's always hot.
Yeah.
Like, I got this Mercury preamp totally by accident. Some dude was selling something else on Craigslist. He was selling a rack, a studio rack.
Right.
And it was empty, except where there was this Mercury sitting on the bottom, and I recognized it, but you could barely see it.
Right.
So I wrote on. I go, hey, do you want to sell this?
It's almost like there's troll fucking websites and social media accounts dedicated to this, of people selling something, and then you're like, well, what about the broom in the background? Like, can I get that broom? So I bet the dude thought you were trolling.
Yeah, he thought you were trolling him.
Yeah, he thought I trolled him, but it was kind of like magic, because I'm like, shit, this is a little out of my price range.
Right.
I mean, this shit gets pricey, and it was from some small town and a Craigslist ad, so it wasn't on like, you know, Reverb or you know, G-Base or anything like that. It was a Craigslist, and he was just selling this little rolling rack for studio gear. And I saw it, and I wrote him. He goes, I hope you're writing about the rack too. And I go, if we can come to a deal, I'll take the rack as well. And he made me a killer deal.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, I spent the money, and the guy was amazing, and I go, how many hours? And he goes, I got about 10 hours on it. I got it, and I laid a couple of vocals, and this dude played with what was the band name? The Psych. Oh shit! Why can't I remember the name of his band? Famous band from the '60s. It wasn't 13th, but
That would have been on, man.
yeah,
That would have been sick.
son of a bitch.
All
All right, dude, it was a band. No, it wasn't 13th style. It was more like Shadow style. It was all instrumental, and their gimmick was they were all bald.
Okay. I like him already.
Yeah,
I'm a fan.
And this was like a big deal in this late 60s. So it was like kind of like surfy,
Right.
Western instrumental, you know, like that Fender, spaghetti Western style. And he was in this band, you know, they had their one big hit, and they were on Dave Clark and all that, you know.
Oh, right on.
But he's like, yeah, I still make music. He does I think real estate now, but he's like, oh, I was making a record, so I bought it. So he cared enough, and he's like, yeah, I got like 10 hours on it. And then it passed to me, and the guy was amazing, a good human.
Sure.
And so I bought the rack and the Mercury, and believe me, it was like I stole it.
That's brilliant,
But
man.
he knew the value of it, and I think he was just surprised that I knew what it was, and I saw it.
And maybe that was a piece of it too, because he saw the amount that you cared for the piece, and it's like, look, I'm not really going to do anything with it. I'd rather give it to somebody that's going to put it to some good use.
Well, like Wizard kind of recognizes Wizard.
Sure.
So if you're a spellcaster and you're older and you're experienced, and then a guy who's a little bit younger than you comes in, saying the right words,
Right.
the right intention, which is to like capture beautiful songs. A wizard will probably be like, all right, this guy wants to cast some good spells. I'm gonna help out my fellow brethren here.
There you go.
Yeah,
Well
he was cool. So I lucked out. So the universe was kind of with me, you know, like helping me like put this idea together, because I'm like, you know, sometimes I feel like it's out of reach, you know,
Right.
because I know the tones and I'm like, I want to get it. And you know, these two items came to me at a very good price, and you know, like I got a Poltec, you know, and Poltecs, I mean, I've seen Poltecs sell for $6,000 for a one-channel EQ, and let me tell you, I didn't pay any, like, I paid a fraction.
Let's just say you got a deal.
I got a deal.
deal.
Like, I'm like, I can't believe I own this piece of equipment, and
Right.
so, which keeps me going. I mean, because this, you know, it's hard out here. We barely make it. We barely are making the payments. You know, trying
Especially with this thing that we're talking in right now.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a beast.
Money Pit's a good movie.
Yep.
What I wanted to talk about regarding LPs, because I bought your back catalog of everything White Orange, and yes, oh, thank you, thank you,
Fist
sir.
bump. That was a fist bump.
That was a fist bump. I didn't know if you just wanted the mic, but the one thing, like the first one, because I gotta straight up admit, it's very beautiful.
Which one? So you got? Did you get them all, or which
I got
one?
everything. I got the one first I want to talk about is, and this is why I speak to you in parables.
So
So
that's-
fucking incredibly beautiful.
You want to talk about it? You want to talk about my song?
Yeah.
All right.
I want to talk about it because Dustin's a madman. No, my buddy invited me out to his property to smoke DMT for the first time.
Right?
So I'd had a little bit of experience with psychedelics, but I'd never done this. Mm-hmm. So he brought me out. He had a virgin pipe. He had like, his buddy grew these crystals. It was like perfect and magical. And I came out of my experience, and I said, oh, it's like as I was coming out, I said, oh, it's like the middle of the riddle.
Yeah, but there you go.
That's what I.
And that's how the song came about.
So he said middle of the riddle because I was trying to figure out a title.
Mm-hmm.
So he said middle of the riddle, and I'm like, oh, interesting, and which ended up being the short version of it.
Yep.
So what happened to me is like I study a lot of things, and I was like reading the Bible or something, and I just kind of opened it, and we're all into this numerology and shit, and I think we'd already recorded it, and we decided that the song for this recording was going to be 1313. Mm-hmm. That's how long, 13 minutes, 13 seconds.
Right.
And so I'm like, I'm wrestling with the title. He told me middle of the riddle. And I'm like flipping through the Bible, and I opened up. Actually, I might have been actually listening to the Bible on audio. Mm-hmm. And yeah, nerd. And I forget what book, but it was
Isaac or something.
it was one with Jesus because it's 13. I don't know if it's John or what. It's one of the apostles, but 13:13, and it goes, and this is why I speak to you in parables.
Yes.
And I'm like, that's it. That's the answer. And then I'm like, in the middle of the riddles will be our short version of it.
Right.
And that's how that title got formed.
Yeah.
I forgot about your DMT trip, the middle of the riddle.
And it is I'm telling you, man, it looks so incredible.
Can I give the secret? Can I tell him the secret? Which one? Of where the song came from?
You know, I don't know if I want to promote that anymore.
No, I mean
the song.
the band.
The band.
That you ripped off.
Oh.
Can we tell him?
Fuck, I don't. Yeah.
Here, you should tell him.
So for song nerds, and I don't care because I take from the greats.
Right?
Like, so I'd been working on this song, and I had this chorus and I had this riff. You know the song, you listen to it, and
plenty of times.
And I really loved how the recording turned out. And that was in one of my studios.
Right.
So I think I did a okay job. But I was kind of confused on like a verse. Mm-hmm. I was like, fuck, I need a verse. And I'm watching a prog doc. I'm just like, whatever, you know. And of course, King Crimson comes on, and it's what is it, 21st century?
Digital.
No, yeah, that I always get confused.
Century something man. Psycho man.
Fuck, I own the vinyl.
I know it. I know what you're saying. 20,
Yeah.
20th century.
Yeah,
That one.
But anyways, that song, one of their famous songs, you know, and I'm like, that's my verse. And
There you
if you know the song, you know the King Crimson song, you can see how it relates, how it's similar.
It basically is like it's the same start, and then there's the differentiation between how it progresses, but it's like this exact same. Dun, 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 dun. When Dustin showed me the Crimson song, I was like, "Fuck, this is awesome." He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna steal it."
So I stole it.
Well, hey man, you got to do what you got to do. Now on the disc, both sides were just beautiful, and the person that also did the other art for I guess you would, Raul. I guess you could say the self-titled also. That's another that's some more beautiful art. Raul Casillas. And the other side was the ceremonial seal from.
So Dustin had this book. Dustin and I, we were living in Clackamas, Oregon, and he had this like generic sort of like witchcrafty book, and I was really into scanning art at the time.
Sure.
Like just basically trying to like get weird shit that we could use.
Right.
And there was that seal that you're referencing. That allegedly was painted by Aleister Crowley on the side of on the wall of a church in France. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but the art was amazing.
Right.
So I took this little like 3-inch by 3-inch photo in this stupid witchcraft book, cut it out, scanned it, blew it the fuck up, cleaned it. So that was side A.
Right.
And then we found Raul, his painting. Oh fuck. I'm forgetting the title, but I was inspired by Alex Gray, and I was kind of looking at artists that were doing similar kind of like visionary type art, and Raul's painting came up, and we reached out to him, and he was kind enough to broker a very, very easy deal where we could use the very center of that painting for the picture disc, which is what you're referencing.
Yes.
And then we used the whole painting for the self-titled triple. It was a triple gatefold, but it was 2 discs, but it was triple gatefold. And dude, I still have never seen a more amazing painting than that. And
Yes,
he
and-
did I think it took him. He says 1,200 hours is what he put into it. And then it's funny because everything post that painting was, it was never the same. It was never.
It took it out of him. It's like a fighter
Maybe
that
it did.
had a rough fight. Yeah, there's something about that. It's I don't know, not to be hokey. It's just so cosmic, and it's like I feel like I see something different every time you look at it.
Well, we worked on the album. I
Right.
mean, and Ryan and I worked on the art, and you know, we're going through it. And when we got the actual triple gatefold,
We were in Seattle when we got the physicals, and we did a show, and we were at Nick's house, and we were stoned and drinking, and we were looking at the art up close, and we were just like you. We were seeing things that we'd never seen before, and
Right.
it was amazing.
and we'd done the work on it.
Yeah.
Like we were staring at it all day.
Yeah,
That's hysterical.
crazy. And I'm like, holy shit! So when you see the full painting, which is how we did that triple gatefold to show the full painting, and
Right.
and that was, you know, out of respect for Raul and trying to show his work and try to do a killer piece of art.
Right.
But when you see it all laid out like that in the flesh and in a good size, and the original is only a little bigger than the triple gatefold.
Yeah, I think the original is actually literally an inch bigger.
That's it.
That's it.
1,200 hours.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, that being said, if anybody has a copy of that somewhere, I'd sincerely appreciate it. I'll pay. Anybody?
You know what? You should have told me. I would have.
We'll talk after.
Yeah,
We'll
we'll
talk
talk.
after,
I think I have a couple of personal ones I can pass you.
Because I saw that and I'm like, this would be so nice for my collection right now.
It's fun because, so the inner side, our buddy, we should say hi to Peter. Hello, Peter Meisner. He gifted us this really generic painting of Mount Hood. Mount Hood is the volcano next to Portland.
Sure.
Essentially. And it was this really generic painting, but it's awesome. It's fucking beautiful. So our buddy photographed it, and then we used that with its stupid Goodwill frame as the inside. So it's kind of like a neat juxtaposition between like super psychedelic DMT art and then like grounding Mother Nature. Right.
Well, I spent a lot of time. I had a house on Mount Hood, so I did a lot of writing in the mountains there. You know, I mean, yeah, that's where Ryan and I met, and so Mount Hood is very special to me. So I was like, okay, we got to get Mount Hood in there. Like a lot of these songs came from that place, you know, that region. So it's all in there. You know, there are reasons. You know, nothing's thoughtless, I guess.
I had to grab the CD. I grabbed something. So it's like I have everything that you guys have put out.
We should talk about Aya.
Our steak knives.
Yeah. Well, no. Yeah. Please.
Which one?
I was gonna bring that. I was just gonna bring that up.
So tell the story of the word, because that journey is really weird.
So yeah, Aya. So it's crazy. So I write songs, you know, and I don't know how to explain how songs come, lyrics and shit like that. Even with, you know, and this is why I speak to you in parables. I was driving and I'm like, oh, the words just came to me in a flood, and I pulled over, ran in a coffee shop, and wrote them all down.
Right.
You know, it's where the words came from. It is what it is. So Aya, you know, on that record, I'd written this song and I could feel it, and it was very just spiritually, I could feel it, and I'm singing Aya, you know, and I kind of feel a little strange about saying Aya. I don't know what it means. I don't know if it's Native American or what it is.
Okay.
So, but I'm confused if I'm getting ready to go in the studio and track this thing for a record, and I'm not sure what I'm actually saying.
Okay.
So I wake up in the middle of the night, and I think we're in the studio in like a week or something, and trying to figure out, I don't know how to spell this word. I don't know I don't know how to sing this word. I just hear the sound in my head. And I wake up in the middle of the night after, you know, processing this shit for a month, and the word Yahweh is ringing in my head. And I'm like, but it connected to the song too. So I woke up with this thought of Yahweh, and the song I'm working on, and I'm like, so I just get online and I start researching Yahweh, and I'm trying to fake spell Aya. You know, I'm like, how do you spell this? And digging and digging and digging, I find that Aya is Yahweh's personal name, his personal, and and it's pronounced in different ways besides Aya. It's like it's Jewish, or Hebrew or whatever. And I found out it's the secret name of Yahweh, or
Explain what Yahweh is.
So Yahweh, and I think the actual pronunciation is Yahweh. But Yahweh is, one of the Elohims from the Jewish Bible, or, Christian, the God, the head God, the head Elohim.
I got to admit, the first time I ever...
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm going to put a link in the show notes, because the first time I ever heard that is actually, it was a tag of a joke from Dennis Miller. Like yeah, but like the what was it, the Off-White album or something like that? This was like the first album that he did. I
That you
think.
heard Yahweh?
And he said something about, Yahweh, and I gotta look that up. I gotta see what that is.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was raised Christian, so as you get deeper into the Bible, you find out these names and
Right.
these other things that on the surface people don't know about. It's like Elohim is like the God, but really even in the Christian Bible there are multiple Elohims talked about, so multiple like kind of gods. But then there's the main God, and that's Yahweh or Yahweh, and then and then there's his personal name, and he says it once, and there's a big debate is about this, about his personal name, which is Eya.
Mm-hmm.
And
Where'd you find that? Where is Yahweh mentioned?
well, Yahweh is definitely mentioned.
Where'd you find the
Eya.
Eya?
I can't remember the book, but it's something, I'm not a crazy theologian, but it's something like Asha versus, or it's like Eya, Asher, Eya, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, shit, what does it mean? It's like, I am, it means like, I am, or something
Okay.
like that. It's like, and I forget who in the Bible, they're like, who are you? Or what are you? Or something. And he's like, I am. And it was like this personal name. And there's big debates in the community about
Of course there is.
what it is.
Yeah.
But what I initially found, it was the secret name for God, or secret name for Yahweh. And it was a secret. So then I had to research before I was sure it was pronounced Eya. I'm like digging, and I found this video of this Jewish band singing religious songs,
Right.
and they were singing Eya, and I could hear it, and I'm like, that's how you say it. And so that's how I got the spelling. So it's that spelling, Eya.
Wow.
And the song can mean whatever you want it to mean, but I'm like, I don't know what I'm saying, but that's how it came to me.
Right.
This is interesting for me as well as maybe the audience. What did you mean about staring into the sun? What was the connection between the title and staring into the sun?
Well, I guess there's two versions of I'd have to remember the lyrics, but obviously you're staring at the sun in the sky, but you're also that's the Sioux Sundance ceremony. I think it's a Sundance ceremony where they pierce their chest
Yes,
and they lean
yes.
back and they stare at the sun. So I was really into that concept. But then I think also I threw in there the crown on the sun, which is the son of Yahweh, Jesus, or Yeshua, or however you want to say it. And it's so I was mixing in the two suns, the sun in the sky and the sun on the cross, and all, and like I said, I don't have an idea when these lyrics come to me. I just I just write them down, and I'm like, my job is to try to interpret it correctly as the sounds come to me. And it was super strange. The whole Eya story was so weird to me that I'm like, I didn't, how do you spell Eya? If someone was like Eya, they would think, Native Americans, Eya,
I remember going through this with you where you're like, Eya, and you're like, how do you spell it? I'm like, I don't know. We're gonna put this on a fucking record jacket. We gotta spell it right.
So I'm researching Native American language. I'm digging into it, listening to Native songs,
Right.
all kind of tribal songs, from all the tribes, Sioux, Nez Perce, Cherokee.
Who's the tribe that is gonna go into the earth when the catastrophe happened?
The Hopi.
So, just a little tidbit for any nerds out there, actually give a shit. There's a Hopi native sample at the beginning of that song where he's speaking in
That's what that. Okay, that's what that is. Okay.
So he's speaking in Hopi language, and
I hear it. I was like, okay, I'll wait sometime when I'll figure that out sometime when I can talk to you.
You know, and even though I'm singing about the Jewish Elohim, I think it's all encompassing. I'm not trying to talk about any religion or any spirituality. It's just what came to me, and I thought it was very bizarre that I actually found a spelling for it, and I put a meaning to it, and it came from a dream. I woke up in the middle of the night with it. It told me. Just
like DMT. A lot of the greatest, like the best art is when you get the fuck out of the way and it comes in.
Yeah.
And you're not like, well, it's not my style. Normally my style. You're like you can fuck off with your style.
Yeah, I just do whatever. Like I try. I'm not judgmental towards anything that's coming to me, and I'm not afraid, and I try to all embrace whatever's coming to me, and I'll say, sometimes I write things that are funny, and especially like with this new project I'm writing, I think a lot of things that make me laugh, and they come to me, and I'm like, believe me, I feel weird sometimes. I'm gonna do a brand new song tonight. Really, it took me a second to like go. Yeah, I'm singing in this different style and these
good,
and I'm just like, but it's telling me to do it, and I just roll with it.
Yeah, you gotta just put your stuff aside and just go.
Yeah,
just go
and try to keep it pure. You got to get out of the way of art, and I'm not here to control it. I'm just here to, I always say I'm the puppet of the universe. The universe is working through me in this dimension.
Sure.
And I just try to do the best I can at the interpretation, and try to be as honest as I can, and listen closely.
We are going to cut it off right there, and we're going to do part 2 very, very soon. Until that time, let's hear the track that they were talking about. This is a. Thanks as always for hanging out towards the end. It's doomtombpodcast at gmail.com. Never forget, I have a show Sunday nights on craniumradio.com. It is the Doom Tomb. Hey, funky title, huh? Yeah, it's the same stuff, man. The best of stoner doom and sludge. I'll play some old stuff, some stuff that you're familiar with, and of course, some brand new killer, kick-ass fucking rock and roll, riff rock, swamp rock, sludge rock, doom rock, occult rock, horror rock. You name it, it's gonna be in there. Listen to the Doom Tomb on craniumradio.com. And if you're too lazy to go over there, check out the TuneIn app. We'll kick your ass and blow out your fucking eardrums. Until that time, the next time, the meantime, the in-between time, I'm going to try and heal my voice. But keep going to those shows, buy that fucking band merch, and never forget to stay heavy.
The medical pot is really strong. That's why it's so hard in California to get your weed card unless something's really wrong. Gonna pay a visit to my doctor. It's a long shot, but I gotta try. He hands me a list of all the ailments I can have to qualify. Can't believe what I am reading. This is just what I've been needing. A government supply to get legally high. Weed card, it's what I need. Hardly ever okay, always. But it's not an addiction, 'cause my doctor gave me a prescription. You can get your card for having headaches, bad dreams, or anxiety. Propensity for drugs or alcohol, anorexia or obesity. Too fat, too thin, either way you win. Carpal tunnel syndrome, color blindness, stuttering, tooth decay, fatigue, depression, motion sickness, impotence, or TMJ. You can smoke to quit cigarettes for asthma or your motherfucking Tourette's. It's a dream come true, there's nothing pot can't do. Weed card, it's what I need. Hardly ever okay, always. But it's not an addiction, 'cause my doctor gave me a prescription. Break it down now. Got back pain, need Mary Jane. Can't handle this, need cannabis. Got a stomach ache, got a wake and bake. Have an injury, need THC. Get fucked up for your hyperhidrosis, which is sweaty palms in case you need a diagnosis. It's not a crime, it's 420 time. Weed card, it's what I need. Hardly ever okay, always. But it's not an addiction, 'cause my doctor gave me a prescription.
Well, there's a quote that Dio told to Dave Mustaine one time, and it was, well, you know, we can jerk each other off all day, or we can smoke this joint.